Inflation is dead. It's dead. We have no inflation. Think of it. Our stock market hit record highs. Everything's hitting a record high. We're really running good with no inflation.
We've had no inflation. All we have is we're making a fortune.
Have you felt that sensation lately while shopping? When you see the total at the checkout machine and think, wait a minute, it feels like this wasn't so expensive just yesterday. When you buy your favorite snack, sometimes you feel like the size and content are smaller. Maybe it's your cup of coffee or your weekly grocery bill, a small increase here and there, barely noticeable. This morning, the United States government released an official report that confirms your feelings. The Consumer Price Index report for June showed an increase of 0.3%, the largest monthly rise in the last 5 months.
And if you peel back the onion, you can see a couple of areas where this really shone through. Apparel was up 0.4%. That was higher than the monthly average. Furnishings up 1%. Appliances up 1.9%. I highlight those because these are products that we import from overseas, and they're subject to those import taxes.
For most people, this number will just pass by. But within these seemingly ordinary figures hides a much bigger and more worrying story. This is the first concrete evidence that the trade war we've been talking about as political headline news has now crept into our everyday lives. This is not something to be taken lightly. This is no longer just a headline. It's an item on your grocery receipt. This is a story about a hidden inflation time bomb, a story about how prices are starting to creep up beneath the surface, while economists warn that the real explosion is yet to come.
For the next 3 to 6 months, you're going to see this accelerate, especially as we move towards that August 1st deadline where you're going to see higher tariffs impacted on a wide range of countries. Obviously, there are deals that can be done, but right now,
understanding what's really happening with your money is crucial. To help us continue dissecting critical economic issues like this, we'd greatly appreciate it if you take a moment to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you don't miss the latest updates and news from this channel. Now, let's dive into this report and uncover the truth. If prices are starting to rise, why does the government say core inflation is still mild? And why are experts on Wall Street so convinced that what we're seeing now is just the small tremor before the real earthquake? To dissect this inflation time bomb, we need to understand two different things: headline inflation and core inflation. Think of it this way. Headline inflation is like daily weather. It can be very volatile due to gasoline and food prices that can rise and fall anytime. Core inflation, on the other hand, is more like long-term climate. It ignores food and energy prices to observe more stable trends. The June report shows a very strange and contradictory picture. On one hand, the prices of goods sensitive to import tariffs are starting to skyrocket. Furniture prices jumped 1.0%. Electronics prices rose 1.9%, the largest increase since 2020. Even the prices of toys and clothing are creeping up. These are the first warning signs, the canary in the coal mine, showing that higher import duties are starting to be passed on to consumers. But on the other hand, overall core inflation still looks mild, rising only 0.2%. Why? Because there is another force holding it back. You, the consumer.
2.7%. That's the forecast for US inflation in the 12 months to June, which is out later. That matters because that would be the biggest number since January, which means tariffs would finally be making their way into Americans' shopping baskets.
Data shows that demand for services like airline tickets and hotel rooms is actually declining. This is a sign that American consumers are starting to tighten their belts. With a slowing labor market, limited wage growth, and fewer job openings, people are cutting back on non-essential spending. So we're in a dangerous economic paradox. The prices of goods we need are rising due to government policy, while demand for services is falling because the economy is weakening. This is a two-sided pressure that's squeezing American family budgets. And in the middle of this paradox, a high-level political battle is playing out. President Donald Trump sees the mild core inflation number and sees only one thing: a reason for the U.S. Central Bank, the Federal Reserve, to cut interest rates. This morning, he wrote on his social media platform, "Consumer prices low, cut Fed rates now." This puts the Fed in a very difficult position. They are trapped. If they follow Trump and cut rates, they risk pouring gasoline on the tariff-fueled inflation fire that's just beginning to burn.
Renovations?
There needs to be an audit on the renovations at the Federal Reserve. I think people need to, in a bipartisan fashion, call for an audit. We have $2.5 billion. Who spends $2.5 billion on a renovation? I mean, I couldn't even think about how to do that.
Flooding the economy with cheap money while prices are rising is the classic recipe for hyperinflation. However, if they hold interest rates steady, they risk slowing down an economy that's already showing signs of weakness, and of course, they risk drawing the wrath of the White House. Minutes from the Fed's June meeting show that they prefer to hold and wait for more data. They're in wait-and-see mode, trying to navigate the storm created by another branch of government. And why are they waiting? Because nearly every independent economist out there is saying the same thing. The real storm hasn't even started yet. The warnings from experts are very clear. Ellen Zentner from Morgan Stanley said the price increase in June is likely the first of more intense price pressures to come. Ryan Sweet from Oxford Economics explained why. Many businesses are still selling inventory they bought before the new tariffs were announced. Think about that. The washing machine or toy you're buying today may have been sitting in a warehouse for months. But once the old stock runs out, the new shipments will come with full tariff costs. And that's when consumers will feel the real impact. And don't forget, the biggest wave of tariffs threatened for August 1st against the European Union, Mexico, and other countries hasn't even taken effect yet. Goldman Sachs has already predicted that monthly core inflation numbers will rise significantly in the coming months, especially driven by higher prices in electronics, cars, and clothing. So we return to the original question. What does all of this mean for you? You're facing a unique economic pressure. The prices of everyday essentials are starting to rise, driven by tariff policies. At the same time, the economic forces that support your income, a strong labor market, strong consumer demand, are starting to show signs of weakening. This is the scenario economists fear. This is the situation where your purchasing power gets eroded from both sides. We are now in the scary calm before the storm. The first tremors of tariff-driven inflation have already been felt. This June CPI report is not the end of this story. It's just the first chapter. The remaining question is not whether prices will rise further, but how high they'll go, and whether the economy and American wallets can withstand the shock. This is the moment when macroeconomic policy collides with micro-level household reality. These numbers are no longer just statistics. This is a story about the future of your financial strength. What do you think? Will the Fed cave to political pressure? Or will they hold their ground and risk slowing down the economy? Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thank you for watching this deep dive analysis. If you found this content insightful, please help us out by hitting the like button. And to make sure you don't miss the next major development in this crucial economic story, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Stay informed.